The Sharkakuda, I think that's what we're calling them. Well, they had a great run with success. They run into a St. Louis Blues team tonight, hungry and ready to throw everything at them. We'll talk about this game. We'll talk about star players coming to the Pacific Division. Oh, yeah, great. Right now, this is Teal Town After Dark. Good evening, everyone. It is Thursday night, November 4th, 2021. The San Jose Sharkakuda lose to the St. Louis Blues 5-3. We welcome you to this edition of Teal Town After Dark. This is your live interactive Sharks postgame. We do this after every game, so teal together and chat with us and fellow Sharks fans on the page or the app. And of course, follow us on the social, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Thank you very much for getting us over 2,500 subscribers. It means a lot to us. SoundCloud, Reddit, Discord, and find everything at tealtownusa.com. Good evening, everyone. Alongside Al Martinet, not Ian Blogs Hockey, I am Buckeye14. How are you, bud?
Good. How are you?
Oh, just fantastic. And full credit to the guys. They put up a great effort, but I'll be honest here, bud. I had a little scary flashback that Martin Jones was in net tonight.
Yeah, I mean, this was almost a flashback to when it was a great game last year when the Sharks and St. Louis played, and it was like a 5-6 game. Of course, that was because Jones led in a couple of easy goals. Because kind of a bad year for Jones, to be frank, and we were kind of hoping this was going to be a bounce back game for Hill, but there were a couple of easy ones that we'll get to from Hill that he kind of let in.
Yeah, we'll get on to that right now. Of course, welcome to everyone joining us. Appreciate it. If you haven't hit that subscribe button already, please do so. Hit that notification bell that notifies you when we go live after every game, because, you know, it's not predicted after every time. But let's get into it, shall we? The Sharks take on the Blues. It's the Sharks' 10th game for William Eklund. It's his 9th game, so a decision will be made in the next 48 hours between whether or not he stays here, goes back to Europe, stays with the Barracuda. Who knows what's going to happen there? But the Blues coming on to back-to-backs. You know, they lost to LA in a shootout, and with their regular backup Husso under COVID protocol, it was the debut of Hoffer, whatever you want to call it. We'll call it. I'll go Hofer for longtime 49er fans. No relation to Paul Hofer, the running back that played with the Niners for so many years. But he became the 14th goaltender to make his NHL debut against the Sharks. They were 3-1 going into tonight, so only half of them got a decision out of it. But let's get at it. A crazy sequence, Al. I mean, my goodness, from like the 4:50 mark to the 10-minute mark, you know, we saw a total of 4 penalties and 2 goals. It was just insane there. You know, Peterson takes an interference call early on. Then Bushnevich takes a boarding call on Milosh. Tarasenko tells the referee to F off. He gets a penalty. So the Sharks literally go from 5-on-4 to 4-on-3, and, you know, took a little bit of iffiness there. Then Barbashev, who some of you know, tried to take out Tomas Hertl in the playoffs a couple of years ago.
Yep.
High sticks Logan Couture. He gets a double minor for that. And then the Sharks bang in Brent Burns, his first of the season, to make it 1-0. Solid goal there. Burnsy with a nice little clapper. He's not usually known for his clapper. He's usually just throwing those at the net. So good to see.
It's still a better start for him this year compared to 2020, where it took him almost until, I would say, December, where he started to score his first goal. Um, Even though like Eric Carlson is still out, I mean, we still have Timo Meyer out, Eric Carlson out, some of our key starters out because of COVID protocols. Bob Budner is still out because of COVID. There's a lot of this is an injured Shark squad right now, and consider of all the circumstances, this is I thought the Sharks played pretty well considering everything.
Yeah, I mean they looked really good early on, definitely dominating uh, the Blues. I think it was at one time like 10-2.
Yeah,
And it was crazy because they were just throwing pucks on net. And Hofer, to his credit, had some nice saves and even used his skate going backwards to make a skate save to keep them in the game. Unfortunately, it doesn't last long. The exactly 10-minute mark, Brandon Saad, with a nice shot that beats Aiden Hill to make it 1-1. On there was a shorthanded goal from Bozak.
kneel before Saad.
No, I don't want to kneel before him, and I don't want to kneel after him. So it's just a tough one there, and it was started kind of a rough night for Aiden Hill.
You mean like honestly, I didn't think this was that bad. Again, it's still shorthanded and it's on the power play, which is even worse. Um, but this wasn't his worst goal he let in. What we'll get into is just his lack of confidence in the second period. And I thought the Sharks' response on both when the Sharks were down 1-2 and 2-3 was actually really good to see. That's something you just wouldn't get last year when honestly it would have been a score of 1-5 at this point early on,
Yeah.
especially with the way things are with just how young they are and lack of depth.
And just trying to piece together a team at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, Artemi Knaizev making his NHL debut on this night. So moving onward, after the 1-1 goal, Ferraro takes a bad holding call. I think he just got beaten. That was a really rough one. So St. Louis with the power play, but Couture says, "Oh yeah, you're gonna high stick me and that." So he makes it a nice shot. Rudolph Balcers with the assist. Couture his fourth of the year to give them a 2-1 lead going into the intermission. Love to see it. Couture coming back with it. Thankfully, not bleeding, and I believe he had all his teeth after that high stick. But
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we're going to get into it, but the theme with Couture is just he's been playing pretty well this season, and he scored a really good goal on high Blues power play, shorthand, just stripping the puck from I forget who it was, but it was from a Blues defenseman, I believe, and he's just wristing it. Really great to see, and honestly, he's been the captain this year on and off the ice, not just blasting Sharks players through the media, which I think he's done a better job leading on the ice.
yeah, and I think with the locker room as it is right now, I think it really goes to show he's having the most fun. He said, and that seems to be fun and a smile and everything with the theme this year with the Sharks. That he's experiencing and can be more of a true leader, where he's focusing on some of his gameplay. Now, granted, he's a great two-way player, but focusing more on the offensive ability, not having to be out there 20, 30 minutes, unlike some defensemen that plays for this team.
Yeah, I mean, it's only it's actually November now. Excuse me, it's November, and Brent Burns' time on ice. I'm just going to do a quick check, but I believe it was somewhere in the range of 26.
Yeah.
Mario Ferraro was somewhere in the range of 23. Again, no Eric Carlson, no Vlasic. So you're obviously going to play those guys more, but it's only November and you're still kind of taxing Brent Burns that much. I can't recall a single game this year when Brent Burns played less than 20 minutes.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
um, it's a bad recipe this early on. And I get it. You won't, not just 20 minutes, but you get the point. Like 22, 23. Like, don't kill your star players out this early.
Yeah. So we will, Trent in the chat, get you loud and clear. We'll get to you your
Please,
question alone.
we'll talk about
Yeah,
that at the very,
we'll
very
get
end.
to
I do
that.
not.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right.
Oh, God.
So, moving onward to the second period, St. Louis kind of came out with it. I think they had like 12 shots in the second, really started taking over this game. Buchnevich, ties it up 2-2. But then the Sharks had that resiliency, which we keep seeing over and over and over again this season, and especially in these last 3 games where they've dealt with the COVID protocols issue. Um, you know, uh, Nick Merkley, no relation. Again, I think that's probably going to become part of the Sharks drinking game. It used to be when you mention, Zvitek Mihalik, the brother of Milano Mihalik. Now it's Nick Merkley, no relation to Ryan Merkley. You could take your shot. That'll make it for all the games that you lose with the Desert Dogs not being in the division. Oh, wait, sorry. Moving onward. But
yes.
Nick Merkley deflecting a shot from Ferraro and Burns with a 2-point night. But Nick Merkley getting on the board. How you doing? Good to see you.
I mean, honestly, just a simple tip. I'm just going to call it the Pavelski tip in front of the net. It's a simple play in the front of the net, and it's the basics. It's a fundamental play around the net. Screen the goalie. The fundamentals are there, and I'm glad the young players are picking them up. It's something that you just didn't see last year, and I'm glad he got his first goal. Hopefully we see more.
Yeah. His first as a Shark, he had a few with New Jersey, among others, to make it a 3-2 game. But then the Sharks started getting into a little bit of trouble here. Weatherby takes a cross-checking call after Neal takes down Godot. Gonna try this again here. I should know. I should buy these vowels when I was on Wheel of Fortune. Godovich. There we go. Neal takes down Godovich. Weatherby's like, oh, yeah, here's a cross-check. Of course, the refs called the second part. And, of course, it sets up for the Sharks power play. A St. Louis power play.
Yeah.
And sure enough, they don't get anything out of it, but they did get momentum. And, of course, Saad again. His second of one, and that makes it a 3-3 game from Thomas and Perron. And then 3.5 minutes later, the real deal names Neal with his game-winning goal, his second of the season. What did you think of those two?
Okay, so the first Saad goal, that is just really inexcusable. We're talking about the Sharks having the lead 3-2 at that point. It's about like midway through the second period. And for the most part, I thought the Sharks played pretty well, but when you let in a goal that is almost Martin Jones-esque, and even probably worse, like in many regards, you just can't do that. Again, last year I didn't watch any of Aiden Hill's game, but this is pretty amateurish. Like just blocker high, and there's no one in front of the net. Like you have to make that save. There's no way of saying otherwise.
Yeah, and
yeah,
it's just really tough one. Then the 4-3 one, that's the one that really pissed me off. He makes the initial save on the shot, and then the freaking
he just dekes
around him, and Hill's just like goes for the he's like diving over to make the save when he really doesn't need to go for the diving save. Just get your leg out, and instead it just looked really bad. It looked really plain. I get that you're trying to make him make the first move, but you got to be reactive to that, and that wasn't a pretty one. And that cost the game.
I don't feel that bad about that one. I thought maybe the defense could have been a little better position, but I kind of knew going in that the Sharks were going to give out a lot of rebounds just because of how small they are. Blues are very big, and the Sharks are just going to give up. Maybe that's probably just going to be the big weakness. Maybe you make the first save, but the rebounding just is in the perfect opportunity. And hopefully that's something they clear up either by who they have in Barracuda or through trade. But that is going to be one of the team's Achilles heel. If they can't get that secondary save or clear the puck, it doesn't really matter who's in net. If that's Hill, Raymer, or someone else.
Right. So, just one of those nights. And then, of course, the third period, the coaches get into the thing and, bog the thing down. Mikko Kikola, gets a shot in on Couture. Unfortunately, they didn't show the replay on it, but, at the same time, it's like, it's just ridiculous. It looks like it's going to be a big ol' headhunting fest, which the Blues are known by around these parts, which is a bummer. But they really held down, and of course the empty netter for Thomas ends up getting an assist for Hofer. So congratulations in your first NHL game. You get your first NHL win, and you get your first NHL point. It's one of those that's so Sharks that they lose to a goaltender making their debut, let alone giving him an assist at the end of the night.
I mean, this is a very good Blues squad. They are first in the Central Division by 3 points. It's still very early on. This looks like it's somewhat of a rebuild year, or not rebuild year, but what's the word?
Reset.
Reset.
Yes. Reset.
Considering everything regarding him, because he was on the verge of going to Seattle halfway through off season. There was a lot of rumors regarding him, but I think the Sharks played pretty well regarding everything before the game. We're talking like 7 players. You're basically an entire line and an entire blue line out. If Hill wasn't as bad in net tonight, I still think we're currently in OT and we're at least getting 1 point. I think Hill was the bigger factor tonight because just letting in that first goal from Saad was just a huge backbreaker, and the Sharks just really couldn't recover from it. Especially Sharks had a power play at the last 4 minutes of the third period and got nothing from it. There was a pretty good chance from Eichel, but that was it. And you can just kind of sense, even though the crowd was 11,000, once they got nothing from it, it was pretty much game over from that point forward.
Yeah, and you got to get the crowd into, especially, even if it is a sparse crowd, you got to get them into it, which I thought was a little bit larger than it was the other night against Buffalo. Some comments in from the locker room from Aiden Hill. We got away from our identity a little bit. It was a little too run and gun tonight. We have to communicate more. That's an interesting comment coming from the goaltender. So looks like, and here's the tough part.
Get the fuck out of
Okay, fine. I'll leave. Bye.
Oh, come on, man.
No, I'm kidding. All right. But I mean, I guess there wasn't exactly the best communication on on there with the team tonight. Merkley, a couple of bad bounces. I don't want to make excuses, but you want to come out with a win, and sometimes you come up short. That doesn't seem like cliche hockey talk afterwards. Couture, I'm fine.
Yeah, he did have that nasty hit in the second period or third period. And there wasn't really a good angle, but you could just hear the loud noise. Either it was his helmet hitting the glass
Mm-hmm.
or his body hitting the glass, but he went directly in the locker room, and I don't think he came back afterwards. Um, so if he's saying he's fine, that's a good sign. But that could mean that I'm fine and I'm not losing my entire jaw this time. I'm fine.
That's good. You know. So yeah, yeah, that poor guy. I swear, he just needs a permanent face mask. I don't care. We're just for the sake of keeping your face the same way as it was. Come on, man. Couture went on to say Eklund is so agile and crafty, moves around the ice very well. He's going to be one of those guys that's very effective. So I'll ask you this question now. This was his 9th game. He has 4 assists, no goals yet. What do you do if you were Sharks management? Are you keeping him up? Or are you sending him to the CUDA? Are you sending him to Europe? What do you say? What do you think is in the minds of the Sharks right now?
You have to keep him up. Like there's no way around it. Like I think Eklund's been playing pretty well. And also I think it's a point to remember that there's no Kane. You're down Meyer, you're down a bunch of Sharks key forwards. I think it's important just to, even if he struggles, let him have a couple of nights off. He hasn't been that bad. And I'm not too sure what's in the Barracuda pipeline, but right now I think he's been playing pretty well. There's been times that he's shown flashes of it. He's been deking out NHL forwards. He's played pretty well. I don't have any real complaints. If you're saying that Deline or Dolan has been playing better than him, that's really not like, so what? But getting 2 rookie forwards to be playing your top 6 is whatever.
Yeah, no, I get you on that. Steve Rector kind of, I think, saying the same thing here as well, along with Hills. Net minding. Hopefully, just hiccups. Reimer's been much more stable so far, though.
Yeah, I mean that's, if you want to look at it, like who has Hill played against? He's played against Boston, Winnipeg, Toronto, but got pulled against Boston, and then
the Montreal game at home. Yep.
Yeah.
So
and then Reimer has been playing mostly below 500 teams. So that would be my only argument against Reimer is who has he played against? Like I like Reimer a lot. I think he's been more consistent, and if that's what the Sharks need, then you play him more. And this was definitely a very bad game, of course, for Hill. I think we've made that point very clear. But I think there is more of an upside with Hill than Reimer, and that's more of the attractive option. We've said that about Jones last year. The thing about Jones and Dell was more of the bar that will always get you, the save that you need, but Jones will always will make the highlight save sometimes.
Right. Yeah. So that's what it remains to be seen. I know Hetty was on Sirius XM radio earlier saying, send him back down, don't rush him. I'm like, oh, man.
Again, who's in the pipeline? Like, I hate to be like, I'm the wrong dude to be on here because I just don't know who's in the Barracuda system. And I don't really have had many issues with Eklund's game. I think he's been pretty good. I think he's shown rookie flashes, and he's also shown that he's definitely not been. I mean, he's definitely shown the rookie stages, but just let him work it out.
Yeah, I mean, Patty didn't. Not to compare him to Patrick Marleau, but Patty didn't get on the board right away. So give him time. I mean, at this point, I think he made the commitment to be over here. So you hope that he's with the team this Saturday as they close out the homestand against New Jersey. Ricky Bartenslager, Hill was bad, but don't get Magna. Duke got himself benched for a bit there, and they were running with Merkley and Knyzhov. Knyzhov played just a scotch under, 12 minutes tonight. Magna was 16-11. It's the tough part is that you have all these guys. You have 4 defensemen, and not to harp on this over and over again, but you have 4 defensemen that, let's be honest, if it weren't for COVID, wouldn't be here right now. I mean, Merkley's looked fairly decent, although he got stuck out there for almost a minute and a half, 2 minutes, when Aiden Hill's throwing blockers at Blues players in the third period. It's tough to say. And I don't think you can blame it on just one person. I think this is just as great as the 2-team wins have been against Winnipeg and Buffalo, this is a team loss. I don't think it was not one person blowing this game, and even as much as we can put the blame on Hill for having a Joner impression, this goes all around. I mean, Hurdle had some flashes, but he wasn't all there.
I think this was a game that feels very winnable, and that's why it feels so frustrating. And that's why we put so much of this loss on Hill, because at least for me, I put so much of it on Hill because if one play goes the other way, it definitely feels like the Sharks could have gotten 2 points out of it. And I personally don't think the Sharks are going to make the playoffs, but if the Sharks get maybe 2 or 3 games swung the other way, we're definitely thinking, maybe they can possibly have some playoff momentum going for the Sharks' direction. So that's just my frustration right now with the Sharks.
Yeah. No, they've been right into this, and that's the tough part. So it's tough because you see on the stat sheet, and you, again, plus minus, it's not a great stat, but Merkley, Knyzhov, Milosh, -2, all of them on the night. Barabanov, while he has an assist, he was a -2. Tomas Hertl was a -4. So it was a rough night.
And then Milosh with the 3 giveaways on defense.
Yeah, so a tough one to take, but hey, this is kind of what we expected with the Sharkakuta going on with that. So 6 and 4 points. For now, you're sitting in you were entered the night in the 3 spot in the Pacific. We'll get to if they hung on to that in a little bit. If you want that, you know what you need to do. Venmo us at Teal Town say if you want your favorite segment coming up. So there's that. The Sharks lose 5-3 to the Blues. The Blues are now 5-0-2 since 2020-19 in San Jose, not counting the playoffs.
Yes.
It's tough, but like I said, it's been a good one. They showed some resiliency, but then the Blues just shut it down at the end, and it is what it is. But moving onward, so you and I were both up at the time that this Jack Eichel trade came down.
Yeah, I mean, like, for context, I do work on a morning shift, so when
Earlier
this
than me,
happened,
which
I
is
saw.
crazy.
Yeah. So, okay, if you could bring up the Eichel, some
The
Eichel
info.
news thing, but yeah. So Jack Eichel got traded to the Golden Knights for a
It's for
to the
it's Eichel in a conditional 2023 third round pick,
yeah
going to Vegas for Alex Tuck, Krebs, and a future first and second round pick, which is top 10 protected. So,
yeah.
Worstovich, it'll be a 2023 first and a 2024 second, or if the Knights do what the Knights do, uh, and just fall apart, then it'll move down a year later. So,
I like this trade for the Sabres. I'm like they got a lot back. I like this also for just Eichel himself
yeah.
because Eichel was not allowed to essentially get the surgery he wanted. He's been essentially in pain for a while now. So now that he can actually control his body and actually get the help that he's needed, he'll be out for the next 3 to 5 months, from what I've been hearing. So if that's true, then he'll be out until February, which is kind of a lot for what Vegas is up. Because if Vegas right now is currently the bottom of the Pacific, if I'm reading this right.
They are, well, they're sitting, um, you know, because of goal differential, they're sitting just on the outside, looking in on a
Sorry.
wild card spot
Yeah,
at 10 points.
but they still gave up, Alex Tuck, Payne Cripps, who I like a lot. Um, but again, they've traded another first round draft pick. Um, Hopefully, this is not going to be another Montreal situation that bites um, Vegas in the butt again, like they did last year. Um,
I
but
mean, we
again,
wouldn't mind it. Let's be honest.
this is another huge gamble for Vegas because, like, you don't know how the surgery is going to play out. Plus, like this is a 10 million cap hit for a player that hasn't played hockey for almost 2 years, for the next 5 years also.
Yeah.
Um, and like there's a lot of like what ifs for this trade. Like this trade could really hamper Vegas going forward. It's a good. It could potentially be a great thing if you're just solely a Sharks fan. Which, hi, welcome to Teal Town after. But like the only reason they're able to really make this trade is because like Mark Stone is on LTIR. Alex, I forget his last name. Alex,
Well, Tuck is now with Buffalo. I think you're thinking of like William Karlsson and Max Pacioretty and
yeah, Max Pacioretty is also on LTIR. So they have 27 million on LTIR right now. So
of
like,
course they have plenty of room.
but like they can't keep they can't keep those three players on that roster together. They're gonna have to decide between two of those three, and of course they're gonna choose Mark Stone and Jack Eichel. So
Yeah, so remain to be seen as how this will go down once Eichel is ready to go. Heck, whenever Pacioretty or Stone are ready to go, uh, you know, and don't forget Alex Pietrangelo. This team is loaded. They should win the cup. They're in win now mode, so they honestly don't give a crap about first round picks, and they stockpiled picks at the wazoo thanks to their expansion draft because GMs were being dumb, and they felt dumb, So
I just don't think that this team is like any better than that it was last year, though. I guess that's my look at it right now because
which wasn't really a bad team. I think
yeah.
I think the division helps them, um, you know, dumbs down their success. I think, and honestly, I think they were prepping for Montreal, and Montreal's been a little more battle tested.
And Hockey Jerk is saying, I said 2 years. It feels like it's been 2 years, but it's only been 8 months since Eichel has been out.
Yeah.
But apologies for that, but it has really felt like 2 years. But yeah, still 3 to 5 months. At most, it's going to be February, March, but like you're not going to get him back full speed for the playoff run or like for playoffs. And when you do, you think you're going to see teams at 100% speed going against Jack Eichel. That just seems like a bad. That just doesn't seem like it's going to work out.
It's going to be interesting. It's let's put it at that. It's going to be an interesting time once Vegas gets healthy and they make the run. This is year 5. They wanted to win a cup within their first 5-6 years, so it's going to be interesting. One more comment coming in from the locker room: Logan Couture and William Eklund. It's tough when you're playing in this league at 18 or 19 years old. He's showing that he can do it. He's proved that he can play in the NHL.
Yeah.
So, obviously, the captain giving a vote of confidence on Eklund. So, we'll see if that happens on this one. So, well, with that, I think, besides mentioning that Marian Gaborik finally retired, it's only been 3 years, and I think he was like a member of the Tampa Bay Lightning for that amount of time, or I think, if I'm not mistaken, or Arizona.
LTIR.
Oh, good old
LTIR.
Boy, they didn't fix that during the CBA, did you? Yeah, well.
Nope.
He last played with Ottawa in 2017-18, and he called it a career. Scored the first goal in Minnesota Wild history as their number 1 pick. So Ricky mentioning how Blickfield should be in over Eklund. He's a finishing winger. We are overloaded on playmakers.
I don't know about that. Like, sure, but I still like Eklund, and who cares?
Okay. Great take there, Al.
There is nothing to back up my take, and I don't really care about Blickfield, so too bad.
All right. Anyway,
sometimes I actually have some legitimate evidence, but this time I just don't.
Nah. I'll let you do that one. So, all right. With that, I think we should get out of here. In case you missed anything or you want to watch this again, check us out on tealtownusa.com or your favorite podcatcher: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, and always available at tealtownusa.com. Saturday night, the Sharks will close out their homestand against the New Jersey Devils. That is a 7:30 start. I'll be in attendance, so you'll be with Eric Landy. I believe Ian will also be on there, so you don't have to deal with my face unless you're at the tank. Come say hi. Tell me how appreciate you all. So it'll be fun to enjoy the game in attendance, and for 11,000, maybe I can move down. I don't know. So, with that, Al, your final thoughts on where the people can find you.
I was debating about what my final thoughts would be jumping onto this, but I figured since someone asked me about the Chicago situation again, I thought that would be the best. Because normally we just kind of repeat what we kind of just been saying for the last 30 to 45 minutes. However, on Monday, Gary Bettman had his press conference about the whole Chicago situation. I do recommend you at least watching some of it. But, however, I honestly, for 45 minutes, it really never felt like a honest apology to anything that happened in 2010. It honestly felt like a cover-up. And anyone that's been following cover-ups knows that anytime you cover up something, it's always worse. And this situation is going to burn out the hardcore of hockey fans, and hockey is already a niche sport, or a niche sport, excuse me. So I don't know where I stand with hockey. It's continuing to be a sport that seems like it's always getting harder and harder to watch, and I don't know. So this situation is kind of so. Yeah, yeah, but
All right, bud. I get you. He's at Al Martinet on Twitter. I'm at PuckGuy14 on Twitter and Instagram. We will be back with you Saturday night following Sharks and Devils, 7:30 puck drop. With you, I think it's just ridiculous. That Bettman and Bill Daly press conference was ridiculous. They're not going anywhere. They weren't going to say anything. They weren't going to have an admission of guilt or any of that crap. Donald Fear with the NHLPA. You happen to forget. It's amazing how all these attorneys, don't have good memories. So with that, we'll get out of here. Again, Sharks and Devils on Saturday. We'll be back with you for that. And until then, keep it real, keep it teal, keep it real teal. Have a great night, everyone. We will see you on Saturday night.